Hello again, Steve here with a few thoughts on a thought that was going on in my head for a while, which is, what is the opposite of anxiety? You might wonder, why would I ask myself such a question? Well, I mean, sometimes it's helpful because I have this conception of this thing I call the continuum of advancement, which I've talked about before, which is that what motivates us to go towards what it is we want in life is kind of the opposite, right? Like, if somebody wants to lose weight, it's probably because they feel like they have too much weight, they're a little overweight. Or if they want to find the love of their life, it's usually because probably they don't have it. So, and all kinds of things, right? If somebody's feeling a little bit poor in life, they might want to feel a little bit more rich in life, and so on. If somebody's feeling ill, they want to feel healthy. You know, the flip side of the coin, right? So what is it we want if we're feeling a bit anxious? What is the opposite? What is as close to the opposite as possible? Well, I had a bit of an examination, a bit of searching and so on. And first of all, you know, to set the definition out, as which is a common definition of the word anxiety, it means the feeling of worry, nervousness, or unease, typically about an imminent event or something without a certain outcome. So we see in there, we see nervousness, unease, and so on. But what's really crucial to that definition, I think, is that certainty thing. Because if we were certain in this definition, then all of the unease and so on would typically not be there, right? Now, one of the things that comes up where anxiety is triggered a lot, I find in a lot of people, is public speaking events or social pressure events, which is what a public speaking event kind of is, right? Because we don't have a certainty on the outcome in many cases, especially if we're new at it, because unlike watching a video, we can't push pause, we can't push rewind. It's live, it's right there. We either nail it or we don't, or we're somewhere in between, right? And now, in that kind of setting, and I think that's one of the reasons why public speaking is so great for the therapy for something like social anxiety, is because we can actually measure and work on through activities to alleviate it and see the flipping of it from anxiety to something else, to the opposite. And because we can do preparation, right? So we can increase the degree of certainty for the outcome because we can prepare for it. And we can use the reason and evidence on ourselves. So there's preparation, there's reason and evidence. Reason and evidence being, you know, nothing's really going to happen to me other than a little bit of embarrassment maybe, or something like that. Nobody's going to throw eggs at me or clobber me over the head. And there are perhaps other ways too that we can mitigate the sense of that works for some people. Some people use forms of prayer or meditation to help them somehow calm down, right, from that nervous reaction, that unease, breathing techniques, exercises, and so on. So there are things that we can actually implement in our lives, in those social situations, to reduce the tendency to go into an anxiety attack or something like that. And through all these methodologies, we develop what I would call bravery or courage. And this, to me, I thought was maybe the opposite of anxiety. But I don't think it really is. I think in the early stages of doing something where we really got to get ourselves to do something, we implement methodologies that help us to become brave and courage in the face of the anxiety or the nervousness and so on, right? And we kind of push through, we kind of run ourselves on adrenaline or something like that. I mean, nobody can imagine that a soldier, for example, in the heat of battle is necessarily calm and confident of the outcome and so on. No, they're exercising bravery and courage, I would say. That somewhere on the path towards what is the real opposite of the anxiety. I think what happens in the development of a skill, right? And what this is social activities. We can work on implementing strategies in our lives which can improve our skill of dealing with social situations. is when we repeat something, we gain experience in the field of that, right? Public speaking is a good one. If we do public presentations over and over again in a trusting environment, we develop a level of skill, a level of, within the confound of that, a level of experience. And then we can take it to the next level, into more challenging situations. But we develop a certainty, a greater degree of certainty, right? And remember back to the definition of anxiety, there was the case of nervousness and unease and so on, because we didn't have the certainty of the outcome. When we have a greater degree of certainty of the outcome, we develop levels of what I would call confidence, greater degrees of confidence. And that word is an interesting word because con, from the Latin, means with, and the fidens is associated with words like fidelity, faith, trust. That's an interesting word, trust. We have a level of trust. And this is relatable in terms of other ways, right? Like trust takes place within ourselves, but it also takes place in our estimation of other people sometime, right? Like if you're going to loan something out to somebody and you have a great degree of trust, there's no problem, there's no nervousness there. But if you don't have that trust, then there's the unease, the nervousness, right? The anxiety that, hey, might not get this back. So when there's trust, there is the lack of nervousness, unease, and a great degree of certainty of what's the outcome. So I think that is more or less, but more, along the more side of things, the opposite of anxiety and something to work towards in our lives is a greater degree of trust in ourselves and in our abilities to handle certain situations. And I think that, I think trust is actually a better word than the word faith for this, because a lot of times faith gets wrapped up in a religious connotation, whereas trust not so much. But we see it coming through that word confidence, because that fidens there is related to the word fidelity or faith, which is related to trust. And I think it is a powerful, just an analyzation, because sometimes when we want something in life, it's good to realize what is its opposite and what is the trajectory of where we want to go. So if we're feeling anxious and we're developing an attitude of gratitude, well, that anxiety is in a way telling us that what we want in our lives is trust. And it's, I think, a good opportunity to hold up the attitude of gratitude, even for the anxiety, for having nudged us a little bit further towards that. So I would encourage anybody who's feeling a little bit of anxiety towards social circles and social circumstances and so on to get involved in some way through exercises. And I think public speaking is a great one to help us with that, towards moving us in the direction of greater trust in ourselves and in others too, but fundamentally it's going to start with us. So hope this is helpful, and I hope that it makes sense. If you agree or disagree, let me know. Like, subscribe, share, and hope to talk to you again. All the best. Bye for now.